Hey everyone, hope you're doing great. Welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we'll dive into what if Deku lost public trust. Smash that subscribe button, and be sure to peek at the description below. Let's begin. The sky above Muzurifu was a piercing, relentless blue, the kind of summer sky that demanded optimism. It was the sort of day where the heat radiated off the asphalt in shimmering waves, distorting the horizon, and the air smelled of exhaust, shaved ice, and ozone. Izuku Midoriya stood on the edge of the rooftop of the Kiyoshi Ward shopping complex, the wind tugging at the bunny-ear cowl of his costume. He adjusted his gauntlets, the metal clicking softly, a rhythmic sound that usually centered him. Today, however, it felt like the ticking of a clock. "Stop fidgeting, you damn nerd." Katsuki Bakugo didn't look back as he spoke. He was perched on the gargoyle railing a few feet away, his posture relaxed but his eyes scanning the streets below with the intensity of a hawk sighting prey. The explosions from his palms were silent for now, but the scent of nitroglycerin hung heavy in the air around him. "I'm not fidgeting," Izuku lied, his voice cracking slightly. He cleared his throat. "I'm just calibrating. The air pressure is higher than usual today. It affects the bracers. It affects your brain," Shoto Todoroki drawled. The dual-haired hero was leaning against the ventilation unit, checking his phone. Endeavor sent a notification. "There's a potential villain gathering in District 4, but it's likely low-level trafficking. He wants us to maintain visibility here. The Big Three presence is good for the economy, apparently." Izuku looked down at the streets. It was the weekend, and the Kiyoshi Ward was packed. Families, couples, tourists, thousands of people moving like blood cells through the arteries of the city. He saw a group of kids pointing up at the roof, their mouths forming shapes of excitement. One of them, a little girl with pigtails, waved an All Might action figure. Izuku waved back, forcing the smile that All Might had taught him. "I am here." But the phrase felt heavy in his chest today. It had been 3 months since the incident at Jaku Hospital. 3 months since the world had almost ended. Society was rebuilding, patching the cracks with concrete and legislation, but the psychological fissures remained. People were scared. They cheered for heroes, but the cheers had a frantic, desperate edge to them. They weren't cheering because they believed everything would be okay. They were cheering because they were terrified of the alternative. One for All feels restless, Izuku thought, clutching his chest. Since he had unlocked the float quirk, the core of One for All had been buzzing. It wasn't the warm hum of unity he was used to. It was static. It was the feeling of a power growing too fast for the vessel containing it. The vestiges were quiet, which concerned him more than their noise. "Something feels off," Izuku murmured. "That's just your anxiety," Bakugo scoffed, though he stood up, his eyes narrowing as he looked toward the central plaza below. "Wait, what is it?" Todoroki pocketed his phone, pushing off the wall. "The birds," Bakugo said. "Look!" A flock of pigeons that had been roosting on the opposite building suddenly took flight, not in a chaotic scatter, but in a unified, terrified surge. Then, the sound hit them. It wasn't an explosion. It was the sound of structure failing. A deep, groaning screech of metal shearing against metal, followed by the terrifying crack of concrete giving way. "Center Plaza!" Izuku shouted, the green lightning already flickering around his body. "Full cowling, 30%. He launched himself off the roof, the air pressure blasting behind him. Bakugo and Todoroki were seconds behind him, a streak of orange fire and a slide of ice. As they descended toward the street, the scene revealed itself in horrific clarity. The Kiyoshi Ward had a central atrium, a massive glass and steel dome that connected 4 separate shopping towers via elevated walkways. The walkways were crumbling. "Villains?" Todoroki shouted over the wind, preparing his eyes side to catch falling debris. "I don't see anyone," Izuku yelled back. "Scan the supports." They landed in the center of the chaos. Panic had already set in. The screaming was a physical wall of sound. Civilians were stampeding toward the exits, trampling over knocked-over displays and dropped bags. "Bakugo, clear a path to the south exit." "Todoroki, stabilize the west walkway, it's listing," Izuku commanded, his mind shifting into tactical overdrive. "Don't tell me what to do, Deku!" Bakugo roared, but he immediately blasted toward the south, using precise explosions to herd people away from the danger zone. Move it, extras! Unless you want to be pancakes, move! Izuku looked up. The northern bridge, a sleek construct of glass and steel suspended 5 stories up, was groaning. There were people trapped on it, a dozen or so civilians clinging to the railing as the bridge swayed violently. Hold on! Izuku yelled. He bent his knees, channeling power into his legs. I have to get them down before it snaps. He was about to jump when the ground beneath him turned to dust. Izuku reacted on instinct, kicking off the dissolving pavement to backflip into the air. He landed on a lamppost, looking down. A circle of decay was spreading rapidly across the plaza floor, eating through benches, fountains, and pavement. I was wondering when you'd show up, a raspy voice echoed. Standing atop the central fountain, which was currently disintegrating into gray sand, was Tamura Shigaraki. He looked different. The surgeries, the power boosts, they had changed him. He wore a heavy trench coat, his white hair longer, wilder. But his eyes were the same, red pools of nihilism. Shigaraki! Izuku grit his teeth. Why here? Why now? Why? Shigaraki scratched his neck, a flake of skin peeling away. Because the stage is set, hero. Look at them. He gestured vaguely at the screaming crowd. They run. They cry. They wait for a god to swoop down and fix the bad thing. But God is retired. And you? Shigaraki looked up at Izuku, a twisted smile forming. You're just a boy in a costume. Smash! Izuku didn't wait for the monologue. He closed the distance in a blur of speed, aiming a Manchester smash at Shigaraki's head. Don't kill him. Just incapacitate. Shigaraki didn't move. Just as Izuku's heel was about to connect, a massive hand intercepted the blow. A Heian Nomu, black-skinned and sleek, dropped from the camouflage of the glass ceiling. It caught Izuku's 30% kick with effortless grace. Hood meant well, but these new ones. Shigaraki sighed, stepping back as the Nomu threw Izuku across the plaza. These are built for speed. Izuku crashed through a kiosk selling sunglasses, tumbling to a halt. He shook his head, tasting blood. Fast. It's faster than the ones at Jaka. Todoroki. Bakugo. High-end. Izuku shouted into his comms. Kinda busy. Bakugo yelled back. A second Nomu had appeared near the south exit, breathing fire, pinning Bakugo down. I have my hands full keeping this bridge up. Todoroki's voice was strained. He had created a massive pillar of ice to support the west walkway, but the decay was spreading toward his ice, eating the foundation. It's just us, Midoriya, Shigaraki said, walking slowly toward him. He didn't run. He didn't need to. Every step he took decayed the ground, forcing Izuku to keep moving, keep jumping. I want you to see something. I want the cameras to see it. Izuku glanced up. News helicopters were already circling. Skeptics' drones were likely among them, hidden in the glare of the sun. What are you planning? Izuku demanded. He circled Shigaraki, looking for an opening. The symbol of peace was a dam, Shigaraki said softly. He held back the chaos. But you? You're just a crack in the glass. Shigaraki suddenly lunged, not at Izuku, but at the structural support of the North Tower, the one connected to the bridge where the civilians were trapped. No! Izuku moved. He pushed one for all to 45%. The pain in his bones was sharp, familiar. He bypassed the Nomu, dodging a swipe of its claws that tore the fabric of his cowl, and intercepted Shigaraki. But Shigaraki smiled. He touched the support pillar with all 5 fingers. CR crack shhhhhhhh. The sound was sickening. The massive concrete pillar turned to dust in seconds. The North Tower groaned. It didn't fall, but it shifted. The vibration traveled up to the suspended bridge. The bridge snapped. It happened in slow motion. The steel cables sheared. The glass walkway, holding 15 people, detached from the main building and began to freefall. Save them, hero! Shigaraki laughed, leaping backward into the shadows. Izuku didn't think. He didn't calculate. He acted. He was too far away to catch it with his hands. He was mid-air, having just dodged Shigaraki. The bridge was heavy, tons of steel and glass falling toward the plaza below, which was still populated by fleeing stragglers. I need to catch it. I need to grab it. Black Whip, 5th user. Help me! Izuku screamed internally. He reached out his right hand, fingers splayed. He envisioned the black tendrils wrapping around the bridge, gently arresting its fall, swinging it to safety. But inside him, the anxiety, the fear, the sheer panic of the situation collided with the volatile energy of One for All. The core buzzed violently. Anger. Fear. Desperation. One for All responded to the emotion, not the intent. Black Whip didn't shoot out as precise ropes. It exploded out of Izuku's arm like a chaotic, pressurized geyser of dark energy. It was jagged, thick, and writhing with red electricity. Too much. Izuku gasped. Stop! He tried to rein it in, but the quirk lashed out. A massive tendril, thick as a tree trunk, slammed into the falling bridge. It didn't catch it gently. It smashed into it. The impact shattered the glass walkway. Crash. The sound was deafening. The bridge disintegrated under the force of the uncontrolled Black Whip. Shards of reinforced glass, some as large as tables, rained down onto the plaza. No! Izuku screamed. The tendrils kept thrashing. One whipped sideways, slicing through the neon signage of the adjacent building. Another slammed into the ground, cracking the pavement and sending a shockwave through the crowd below. Izuku felt like his arm was being torn off. He grabbed his right wrist with his left hand, trying to physically hold back the energy. Stop! Turn off! Turn off! But the momentum was already carrying the debris down. A massive pane of glass struck by the Black Whip spun through the air like a guillotine. It slammed into a bus-stop shelter below. Izuku watched, helpless, suspended in the air by the recoil of his own power. He saw the dust cloud rise. He heard the secondary crashes. Then silence. The Black Whip receded, sputtering out into black smoke. Izuku dropped from the air, landing hard on his knees in the center of the debris field. His breathing was ragged. His arm throbbed with a dull, red ache. Is everyone? His voice was a whisper. Is everyone okay? The dust began to clear. The villains were gone. Shigaraki had vanished during the chaos. The Noma had retreated. Izuku stood up, his legs shaking. He walked toward the wreckage of the bridge he was supposed to catch. Hello? He called out. I can get the medics. Stay back. The shriek cut through him sharper than any blade. Izuku froze. Emerging from the dust, a woman was kneeling on the ground. She was covered in white dust. Her forehead was bleeding. In her arms, she clutched a young boy. The boy was crying, clutching a bleeding arm where a shard of glass from the bridge Izuku shattered, had sliced him. Izuku took a step forward, his hand outstretched. I have bandages in my utility belt. Let me help him. I said stay back. The woman screamed again, scrambling backward, dragging her son with her. Her eyes were wide, white-rimmed with terror. She wasn't looking at a hero. She was looking at a monster. You did this! You crazy freak, you did this! Izuku flinched as if struck. No, I, the villain, he broke the support. You smashed it! A man yelled from the side. He was nursing a broken shoulder, pinned under a piece of the railing. We saw you! That black thing. It went out of control. You almost killed us all. Izuku looked around. The crowd wasn't running anymore. They were staring. Dozens of phones were recording. The news helicopters hovered low, their cameras zoomed in on the scene. They didn't see Shigaraki decaying the pillar. That happened in the shadows, obscured by the tower. What they saw was Deku, the successor of All Might, unleashing a nightmare of black tendrils that shattered a bridge and rained razor-sharp glass onto a crowd of families. It malfunctioned, Izuku stammered, his voice small. I was trying to save you. Save us? The mother was weeping now, pressing a cloth to her son's arm. The blood was bright red against the white dust. Look at my son! Look at what you did! Just get away from us, Deku. A hand grabbed his shoulder. It was Bakugo. He looked battered, soot streaking his face. He looked at the crowd, then at the wreckage, then at Izuku. For the first time in his life, Bakugo didn't look angry. He looked worried. We need to go, Bakugo said quietly. Now. But they're hurt, Izuku whispered, tears pricking his eyes. Kaken, they're hurt. I have to. You can't help them right now. Todoroki appeared on his other side. His eyes side was frosted over, his expression grim. The police and paramedics are arriving. If you stay, you'll just make the panic worse. Izuku looked at his hands. The gloves were scuffed. Underneath the fabric, the scars of his past sacrifices were hidden. He had broken his body over and over again for these people. He had offered up his life without hesitation. But today, the fear in that woman's eyes wasn't for Shigaraki. It was for him. Midoriya, move! Aizawa's voice came over the comms, sharp and urgent. Return to UA immediately. Do not speak to the press. Do not engage with civilians. This is an order. Izuku let Bakugo and Todoroki steer him away. As they retreated toward the extraction point, Izuku looked back one last time. A massive screen on the side of a building, usually used for advertisements, had been hijacked. Static flickered, and then a logo appeared. The logo of the Meta Liberation Army. A voice, distorted and synthesized, boomed across the plaza, syncing with the phones of everyone in the crowd. Look closely, citizens, the voice purred. Footage appeared on the screen. It was grainy, edited footage. It showed Deku from the sports festival, breaking his fingers with a manic smile. It cut to him screaming during the overhaul fight. And then, it cut to a live feed from 5 minutes ago, the black whip exploding, shattering the glass. Is this the symbol of peace? The voice asked. Or is he a weapon that doesn't know how to stop firing? We have the files. We know the truth. This isn't a hero. This is a science experiment gone wrong. The screen went black. Izuku felt a cold pit open in his stomach, deeper and darker than any wound he had ever received. The physical battle was over. But as the sirens wailed and the cameras flashed, Izuku realized the real war had just begun. And for the first time, he wasn't sure if he was on the winning side. He lowered his head, the ears of his cowl drooping, and walked into the shadows, leaving the sunlight behind. Part 1. The editing room. The room smelled of stale coffee, ozone, and the electric hum of a server farm running at maximum capacity. It was a dark, windowless nervous system buried deep within an undisclosed location, the walls lined with monitors that bathed the space in a cold, blue light. Tomoyasu Chikuzoku, known to the underworld as Skeptic, sat hunched over his workstation. His fingers flew across a custom mechanical keyboard, the clicking sound rapid and rhythmic, like the chattering of teeth. On the massive center screen, a freeze frame of Izuku Midoriya hovered. It was a shot from the sports festival, months ago. Midoriya's arm was purple, swollen, and broken, dangling uselessly at his side, yet his face was contorted in a manic, desperate scream. Too much heroism, Skeptic muttered, adjusting his glasses. We need more madness. He tapped a key. The color grading shifted. The bright, hopeful daylight of the UA Stadium was washed out, replaced by a sickly, greenish tint. The contrast was cranked up, turning the shadows on Midoriya's face into abyssal pits. Now, he didn't look like a determined underdog. He looked like a rabid animal cornered in a cage. Perfect, Skeptic whispered. Is it ready? Skeptic didn't turn around. He knew the heavy, shuffling gait of Redistro, even if the man was currently operating with reduced resources after their merger with the League. The footage from Muzurifu has been processed, Skeptic replied, his eyes darting to a secondary monitor. It showed raw footage from the incident an hour ago, the black whip explosion, the shattering bridge, the screaming mother. It's potent. But raw violence isn't enough to kill a symbol. The public forgives accidents. They forgive collateral damage if the intent is pure. Skeptic spun his chair around, a thin, cruel smile playing on his lips. To kill a hero, you don't destroy his body. You destroy his origin story. He pressed a key. A new window popped up. It was a fabricated document. It bore the seal of a defunct, shady medical research facility, one known for illegal court counseling in the early 2000s. The document was a patient file. Patient, Midoriya Izuku. Diagnosis, quirkless. Procedure, artificial quirk implantation type A/NOMU prototype. Sponsor Yagi, Tashinori All Might. This is the masterstroke, Skeptic said, tapping the screen. We take the truth, that the boy was born powerless and suddenly gained power, and we fill the gap with horror. We align him with the very monsters they fear. We make him a Nomu in human skin. Redestro leaned in, reading the fabricated file. The masses rely on stability. If they believe their greatest hero created a monster to maintain his legacy, the trust evaporates. Liberation begins in the mind. I'm uploading it to the dark servers now, Skeptic said, his fingers resuming their dance. Bot farms in Russia, China, and the American Midwest are primed. The hashtag is already selected. By the time the boy gets back to his dormitory, he won't be a student. He'll be a subject. He hit enter. On the screen, a loading bar filled rapidly. Uploading, the false idle.mp4. 100% complete. Part 2, the long drive. The armored transport vehicle was silent. It was a heavy, suffocating silence that made the air feel thick enough to choke on. Izuku sat in the back, huddled into himself. He had removed his mask, holding it tightly in his hands. The fabric was torn, stained with dust and grime. He stared at the metal floor, replaying the sound of the glass shattering over and over in his mind. Crack. Scream. Crack. Scream. Opposite him, Katsuki Bakugo stared out the reinforced window. His knee was bouncing up and down, a nervous tic he usually suppressed. He wasn't looking at Izuku, but his posture was defensive, angled slightly toward the green-haired boy as if expecting an attack from the inside of the van. Shoto Todoroki sat next to Izuku, looking at his phone. His expression was unreadable, but his thumb hovered over the screen, scrolling, pausing, scrolling again. Stop looking at it, Shota Aizawa said from the front passenger seat. He didn't turn around, but his voice was sharp. Looking at what, sensei? Todoroki asked calmly, though he didn't put the phone away. The news. Social media. Turn it off. It's trending, Todoroki said, his voice devoid of emotion. #1 worldwide. Izuku flinched. He tightened his grip on his mask until his knuckles turned white. Is it the bridge? Todoroki hesitated. He looked at Aizawa, then at Izuku. It's everything, Midoriya. Give me the damn phone. Bakugo snatched the device from Todoroki's hand. He looked at the screen for 3 seconds, his eyes widening. His face flushed with a sudden, violent rage. What the hell is this? Who made this crap? Bakugo, language, Aizawa warned. No, sensei, look at this. Bakugo shoved the phone toward the front of the cab. They're saying they're saying All Might built him. Izuku felt the blood drain from his face. What? Don't look, Deku, Bakugo snapped, pulling the phone back. But it was too late. Izuku had seen the thumbnail. It was a split screen, his face, contorted in pain, next to the exposed brain of the high-end Nomu. The headline read, Project Deku, the manufactured hero. That's not true, Izuku whispered. That's a lie. Of course it's a lie, Aizawa said, his voice grim. It's propaganda. The MLA is spinning the narrative. But people believe it, Todoroki said quietly. Look at the comments. 400,000 shares in 20 minutes. The timestamps on the medical files look authentic. Izuku reached into his pocket for his own phone, disregarding Aizawa's order. He had to know. He turned it on. The device nearly froze from the barrage of notifications. Twitter, Instagram, HeroTube, every app was flooded. He opened the video link. It started with a slow, ominous heartbeat sound. A voiceover, deep and distorted, began to speak. What is a hero? Is it born? Or is it made? The video cut to footage of Izuku at the entrance exam, breaking his legs to destroy the zero-pointer. Zoom in on the flailing limbs. Human bodies have limits. Quirks are biological. But this, cut to the sports festival. Izuku's fingers snapping. The audio of his screams had been amplified, echoing like a horror movie sound effect. This is a body rejecting a foreign power. A power that was forced into it. Then, the documents. Quick flashes of medical charts, highlighted text. Subject quirkless. Donor unknown. All Might was fading. He needed a successor. But he didn't find one. So, he made one. The video cut to today. The Black Whip incident. The footage was edited to remove the slipping bridge support. It just showed Izuku standing there, black energy exploding from him, shattering the walkway. It showed the mother screaming, "Get away from me!" Unstable. Violent. A weapon masquerading as a child. He isn't the next All Might. He is the first of a new breed of villain. The video ended with a single hashtag, "Stop Deku." Izuku dropped the phone. It clattered onto the metal floor. They think... Izuku's breath hitched. They think I'm a monster. They're idiots, Bakugo snarled, though his voice lacked its usual bite. He looked shaken. They don't know anything. We'll debunk it. All Might will make a statement. All Might is the target, Bakugo, Todoroki said. If he speaks, he validates the conspiracy. They're claiming he's the mastermind behind an illegal experiment. Anything he says will be twisted. The van slowed down. They were approaching the UA barrier. Usually, the gates of UA were a sight of comfort. A fortress. But as the van turned the corner, they saw them. The crowd. There were hundreds of them. Not villains. Ordinary people. They held signs. Some were hastily made cardboard. Others were printed slogans. UA hides monsters. Release the medical records. No more Nomus. A brick hit the side of the armored van with a loud thud. Izuku jumped. Keep your heads down, Aizawa commanded, his eyes narrowing as he glared at the crowd through the tinted glass. Driver, don't stop. Go straight to the dorms. Izuku peered through the gap in the window covering. He saw the face of a man in a business suit, screaming, his face red with vein-popping anger, throwing a soda can at the van. He saw a teenager, someone his own age, holding a phone up, live-streaming the capture of the monster. They hate me, Izuku whispered. The realization settled in his bones, colder than Todoroki's ice. I saved them. I tried to save them, and they hate me. Part 3. The verdict. The common room of Heights Alliance was usually a place of laughter. Tonight, it was a funeral parlor. Class 1A was gathered. No one was studying. No one was eating. The TV was on, muted, showing a panel of pundits arguing on a news channel. The ticker at the bottom read, HPSC launches emergency inquiry into UA student Midoriya. When the door opened and Aizawa led the trio inside, the room erupted. Deku! Uraraka was the first to move, rushing forward. Her eyes were red. Are you okay? We saw the news. It's all lies. It's crazy. Midoriya, Ida chopped the air, though his hand trembled. This is clearly a villainous smear campaign. We must issue a formal counter-statement immediately. It's trending everywhere, Ribbit, Azui said, clutching her hands together. Even the international hero forums are banning support posts for you. Izuku stood in the entryway, looking at his friends. They were supportive, yes. But he saw it. He saw the way Mineta took a half-step back. He saw the way Oyama avoided eye contact. He saw the hesitation in Ojiro's stance. It wasn't that they believed the video. It was that the possibility had been planted. The video was slick. It used facts. Deku did break his bones constantly. He did appear out of nowhere. He was quirkless, a secret only a few knew, but now the world knew it. It's okay, guys, Izuku said, forcing a smile. It was a grotesque parody of his usual expression. It's just a misunderstanding. The teachers will fix it. Midoriya, Aizawa said, placing a hand on his shoulder. Go to your room. Pack a bag. The room went silent. Pack a bag? Uraraka asked, her voice small. Sensei? Is he being expelled? No, Aizawa said, his tone leaving no room for argument. But the Hero Public Safety Commission has arrived on campus. They are in Nise's office now. Until the investigation clears him, Midoriya is to be placed under isolated house arrest. He cannot be in the dorms with other students. That's bullshit. Bakugo yelled, sparks popping in his palms. You're letting those suits dictate how we run things? He didn't do anything wrong. His quirk glitched. It happens to us, Kirishima added, stepping up beside Bakugo. My quirk hardened too much once and I cut myself. Kaminari shorts out his brain weakly. Why is Midoriya being treated like a criminal? Because the public is scared. Aizawa snapped, his patience fraying. And when the public is scared, the commission needs a scapegoat. If we don't cooperate, they will revoke UA's accreditation. Do you want the school to close? Do you want to lose your licenses? Silence fell over the class. Izuku looked at his feet. It's okay, Kaken. Kirishima. It's fine. He looked up, tears brimming in his eyes. I don't want to cause trouble for you, eh? I'll pack. He walked past them. He felt like a ghost. He walked up the stairs, every step heavy. As he reached the second-floor landing, he heard the front door open again. Young Midoriya! It was All Might. Izuku stopped and looked over the railing. Toshinori Yagi looked worse than Izuku had seen him in months. He was in his skeletal form, wearing a suit that looked 2 sizes too big. He was sweating, panting as if he had run all the way from the faculty office. All Might, Izuku whispered. I tried. All Might wheezed, looking up at his student. His blue eyes were filled with an agony that had nothing to do with his physical injury. I tried to tell them. I told the commission president that I chose you. That there were no experiments. No surgeries. What did they say? Aizawa asked softly. All Might slumped against the doorframe. They said the truth doesn't matter right now. They said the narrative has already taken hold. If I admit to giving him a quirk, it confirms the illegal transfer theory. If I deny it, they say I'm covering up the experiment. They have us in a checkmate, Aizawa. He looked up at Izuku, tears streaming down his gaunt cheeks. I am so sorry, my boy. I tried to give you a gift. Instead, I gave you a target on your back. Izuku gripped the railing. He wanted to scream. He wanted to tell All Might it wasn't his fault. But the words wouldn't come, because deep down, a dark, treacherous part of his mind whispered, maybe they're right. Maybe I wasn't meant to have this. Look at the destruction. Look at the fear. I'll go pack, Izuku said again, his voice hollow. Part 4, The Glass Box. The isolation room wasn't a cell, but it felt like one. It was a guest room in the faculty wing, usually reserved for visiting heroes. It had a bed, a desk, and a window that looked out over the back of the campus. But the door was locked from the outside. 2 hours had passed since he was moved. His phone had been confiscated by the HPSC agents' evidence, they claimed. He had no internet, no contact with his friends, just the TV bolted to the wall. Izuku sat on the edge of the bed. He shouldn't turn it on. He knew he shouldn't. He picked up the remote. The screen flickered to life. Every channel was covering it. Channel 1, a panel of quirk experts analyzing the physics of black whip. That red lightning, it's indicative of an unstable energy core. It's similar to the energy signature we saw in the Nomu at Hosu. This isn't a natural mutation. Channel 4, an interview with the woman from the shopping district. Her face was blurred, but her voice was shrill. He looked at me with these glowing eyes. It wasn't human. It wanted to hurt us. I swear, he was enjoying it. Channel 8, a live feed of the UE gates. The crowd had grown. There were bonfires now. People were burning merchandise. He saw an All Might hoodie, the Silver Age limited edition one he had coveted for years, being thrown into a trash can fire. They are burning All Might because of me. Izuku turned off the TV. The room plunged into darkness. He curled his legs up to his chest, wrapping his arms around his knees. He rocked back and forth. The doubt was a physical weight. Did I enjoy it? No. Did I lose control? Yes. Am I dangerous? He looked at his hands. In the dim light, he could see the scars. The crooked fingers. The burns. The video's voiceover echoed in his head. A body rejecting a foreign power. Maybe, Izuku whispered to the empty room. Maybe I am just a vessel that cracked. A knock on the door startled him. Midoriya? It was a muffled voice. Snipe? Ectoplasm? One of the guards. There's a call for you. The commission approved it. Immediate family only. The door buzzed and opened a crack. A hand passed a landline receiver through the gap. Izuku took it. Hello? Izuku. It was his mother. Inko Midoriya. She was sobbing so hard the words were barely intelligible. Mom? Mom, calm down. I'm okay. I'm safe at school. They're outside, Izuku. Inko wailed. The reporters. They're on the lawn. They're banging on the windows. They keep asking if I sold you. They asked how much All Might paid me for your body. Izuku felt a cold rage snap inside him. Not the panicked heat of Black Whip, but a freezing, deadly cold. Did you call the police? I did. They said they can't disperse the press because it's public property. Izuku, I'm scared. They're throwing things at the door. Mom, listen to me, Izuku said, gripping the phone so hard the plastic creaked. Go to the bathroom. Lock the door. Don't come out. I'll get someone to you. Why are they saying these things? She wept. You're a good boy. You've always been a good boy. I know, Mom. I know. They say you're a monster, Izuku. They say you're not my son anymore. The line crackled. I love you, Mom, Izuku said, his voice breaking. I love you too, baby. Please, just come home. We can leave. We can go away. I have to go. Izuku hung up the phone. He handed it back to the guard through the crack. The door clicked shut. The lock engaged. Izuku stood in the center of the room. His mother was under siege. His mentor was disgraced. His friends were powerless. And he was locked in a box, waiting for bureaucrats to decide if he was a person or a weapon. He walked to the window. It was reinforced glass. He pressed his hand against it. Down below, in the distance, he could see the glow of the fires at the gate. The medical file was a lie. But the feeling of being a construct, a thing made of expectations and borrowed power, that felt real. If society didn't want a hero, if they only saw a monster, then maybe the hero shouldn't be there anymore. As long as I am here, UA is in danger. Mom is in danger. All Might is in danger. The logic was cold and absolute. It was the logic of a strategist, the analytical mind that had filled 13 notebooks. Variable, Izuku Midoriya. Status, liability. Solution, remove variable from equation. He turned away from the window. He looked at his hero costume, folded neatly on the chair where the guards had left it. The iron soles? The green fabric. He picked up the mask. The ears that mimicked All Might were torn. The smile was gone. They want a villain, Izuku whispered, his eyes flashing green in the dark. I won't give them a villain. But I won't give them a victim either. He reached into his bag and pulled out a notepad. He tore off a page. He began to write. Dear Mom, Dear All Might, Dear Class 1A. The pen scratched loudly in the silence. Outside, the thunder began to roll. A storm was coming, and for the first time, Izuku Midoriya wasn't afraid of the rain. He was afraid of what he would become when he stepped into it. Part 1. The Specimen. The room was white. Not the warm, cream-colored white of a home, but the sterile, clinical white of a laboratory or a hospital ward. It was a guest room in the faculty wing of UA, repurposed into a holding cell. The door had an electronic lock. The windows were reinforced with polycarbonate shutters. Izuku Midoriya sat on the floor, his back pressed against the bed frame. His knees were drawn up to his chest, and his eyes were fixed on the far wall, though he wasn't seeing it. He was seeing the internet. Despite the HPSC confiscating his phone, they hadn't removed the smart TV mounted on the wall. Perhaps it was an oversight, or perhaps it was a test. A way to gauge his reaction to the vitriol. The screen was currently black, but the images were burned into his retinas. Stop Deku. No Makid. Fake hero. The hashtags were bad, but the analysis videos were worse. People, ordinary people, not villains, were dissecting his life frame by frame. They had slowed down footage of his arms breaking during the sports festival. They overlaid diagrams of muscle density and bone structure. Look at the recoil, a popular quark science YouTuber explained in a video with 3 million views. A natural quark body adapts. The skeletal structure reinforces itself during puberty. Midoriya's body doesn't do that. It breaks. Why? Because the power isn't his. It's like trying to run a jet engine inside a paper airplane. Izuku looked down at his right hand. He flexed his fingers. The scars were thick, ropey lines that traced the history of his failures. A jet engine in a paper airplane. They're not wrong, he whispered. The sound of his own voice was startlingly loud in the silent room. He closed his eyes and tried to access the vestige world. He needed to hear Nana Shimura's voice. He needed the first user to tell him that this was just another trial. Concentrate. He reached for the core of One for All. Usually, it was a burning sun. Today, It felt like a knot of cold wire. Silence. The vestiges were quiet. It was as if they, too, were hiding from the scrutiny. Or maybe they were ashamed. Stop it, Izuku told himself, digging his nails into his palms. You're spiraling. It's a lie. Skeptic made it up. You are the ninth holder. All Might chose you, but the doubt was a parasite. It fed on the insecurity that had lived in his gut since he was 4 years old. The little voice that said, "You are a Deku. You are defenseless. You are nothing." He stood up and walked to the window. Through the slats of the shutters, he could see the UA grounds. It was raining, a gray, miserable drizzle that turned the campus into a watercolor painting of greens and grays. Usually, the grounds would be full of students moving between classes. Today, it was empty. The heightened security alert had confined everyone indoors. He was a contagion. A virus that had infected his dream school. A buzz at the door made him jump. The electronic lock disengaged with a heavy thunk. Cementos stood there. The blocky hero's face was unreadable, but his posture was stiff. He held a tray of food. "Lunch," Cementos said. His voice was deep, gravelly, but lacking its usual warmth. "Thank you, Sensei," Izuku said, stepping forward to take the tray. Cementos didn't let go immediately. He looked at Izuku, really looked at him, scanning his eyes, his posture. It was a look of appraisal. Like he was checking for cracks in a dam. "Midoriya," Cementos said slowly. "How are you feeling? Any instability?" Izuku froze. "Instability? With your quirk," Cementos clarified, his eyes shifting to Izuku's arms. "Do you feel like you can control it?" "He's scared of me." The realization hit Izuku like a physical blow. One of his teachers, a pro-hero who had faced villains and disasters, was hesitating to hand him a tray of rice and miso soup because he was afraid black tendrils might lash out and crush him. "I'm fine, Sensei," Izuku said, his voice trembling slightly. "I'm in control." Cementos nodded, releasing the tray. "Good. Eat. You need your strength for the inquiry." The door closed. The lock clicked. Izuku looked at the food. He wasn't hungry. He placed the tray on the desk and sat back down on the floor. "I am here," he thought bitterly. "I am here, and everyone wishes I wasn't." Part 2, The Pressure Cooker. The common room of the Class 1A dorms, Heights Alliance, was usually a cacophony of life. Ashido dancing, Kaminari short-circuiting, Bakugo yelling at someone for breathing too loudly. Today, the silence was suffocating. It had been 24 hours since Izuku was taken to the faculty wing. The rain lashed against the floor-to-ceiling windows, casting long, weeping shadows across the room. Most of the class was gathered in the lounge area. They weren't doing anything. Just waiting. Tenya Ida was pacing back and forth behind the sofa, his movements stiff and robotic, cleaning his glasses over and over again until the lenses threatened to wear thin. Ochako Uraraka sat on the edge of the couch, clutching a throw pillow. Her knuckles were white. She kept looking at her phone, typing a message, then deleting it. To Deku. Message, "Are you okay? We miss you." Status, undelivered. "They blocked his comms," she said softly, dropping the phone onto the cushion. "He can't receive anything. It is standard protocol for a suspect under investigation," Momo Yayorosa said. She was sitting at the table with a pot of tea that had gone cold. Her eyes were rimmed with dark circles, to prevent collusion with external parties. Collusion? Kirishima slammed his hand down on the coffee table, making the cups rattle. "He's our friend. He's Midoriya. He's not colluding with anyone. He was fighting Shigaraki." "We know that, Kero," Ajui said from the floor. She was hugging her knees. "But the world doesn't. And the HPSC is treating him like a villain." "It's not just the HPSC," a small, trembling voice came from the corner. Everyone turned. Minoru Mineta was standing by the bookshelf. He looked pale, sweating profusely. "Mineta?" Ida stopped pacing. "Have you seen the forums?" Mineta asked, his voice rising in pitch. "They're posting stats. The injury rates. The collateral damage. They're saying he's a time bomb." "Shut up, grape juice," Bakugo growled. He was sitting in an armchair, staring at the ceiling, his arms crossed so tightly his biceps bulged. No, listen. Mineta took a step forward, his fear overriding his usual cowardice. What if they're right? Not about the experiment stuff, maybe that's fake. But about him being dangerous. We saw the black whip. It destroyed a bridge. What if next time it happens in the dorms? What if he loses control while we're sleeping? Mineta! Uraraka stood up, her face flushing with anger. How can you say that? After everything he's done for us? Because I don't want to die. Mineta shouted, tears springing to his eyes. I want to be a hero, yeah, but I want to live. Midoriya attracts villains like a magnet, and now his own power is trying to kill people. Is it wrong to be scared? It is not wrong to be scared, Yuga Aoyama spoke up. He was standing by the window, looking at his reflection in the dark glass. He wasn't smiling. But fear makes us see monsters where there are only mirrors. Aoyama turned to the group. His face was unusually serious. I know what it is like, to feel like your quirk does not fit your body. To feel like it is a burden you were not meant to carry. Bakugo's eyes snapped to Aoyama. He narrowed his gaze. What are you saying, Aoyama? Ojiro asked, confused. I am saying, Aoyama said softly, that Midoriya is suffering. And instead of helping him carry the weight, the world is adding stones to his pockets. If we do the same, he will drown. We aren't doing the same! Uraraka cried. We're on his side, are we? The question hung in the air. Todoroki, who had been silent until now, stood up. The left side of his face was illuminated by the lightning outside. There is a divide, Todoroki said calmly. I can feel it in this room. Some of you are wondering if the rumors are true. Some of you are wondering if All Might really did something unethical. He looked at Sato, at Koda, at Hagakure. They flinched under his bicolored gaze. It's natural, Todoroki continued. My father was the number 2 hero for decades. The world thought he was a stoic guardian. Behind closed doors, he was something else. You all know that now, so you're wondering if the number 1 hero had secrets too. Don't compare All Might to your old man, Bakugo snapped, standing up. Why not? Todoroki challenged. We put them on pedestals. We assume they are infallible. But Midoriya, he's the crack in the pedestal. He's the proof that the legacy is messy. And that scares you. I'm not scared of Deku. Bakugo yelled, explosions popping in his palms. I'm scared of what you idiots are going to do to him. You're letting the villains win. Skeptic wants us to doubt him. He wants us to fracture. And look at you. You're doing exactly what he wants. Bakugo stormed into the center of the room, getting in Mineta's face. Deku is the only reason half of us are even alive, Bakugo hissed. Muscular. Stain. The camp. Kamino. He breaks his bones so you don't have to break yours. And the second he slips up? The second he has a bad day? You treat him like a rabid dog? I didn't say that. Mineta whimpered. You thought it. Bakugo roared. You're all thinking it. Oh no, Deku is scary. Yeah, he is scary. He has the strongest quirk in existence, but he's also the guy who keeps notes on all of your quirks so he can help you get better. He's the guy who cries when you get hurt. Bakugo's voice cracked. He was breathing hard, his chest heaving. If you turn your backs on him now, Bakugo said, his voice dropping to a lethal whisper, then you aren't heroes. You're just extras in the crowd. The room was deadly silent. Uraraka was crying openly. Kirishima looked ashamed. Even Mineta looked down at his feet. Then, the TV turned on. It was an automatic alert. The emergency broadcast system. Turn it up, Jiro whispered. Momo grabbed the remote and raised the volume. Breaking news. All Might to address the nation regarding the Project EKU allegations. The screen showed a podium set up outside the HPSC headquarters. The rain was pouring down. Flashbulbs were going off like strobe lights. He's going to fix it, Uraraka said, wiping her eyes. All Might is going to tell them the truth. He's going to save Deku. Bakugo stared at the screen. His expression wasn't hopeful. It was terrified. He can't, Bakugo whispered. He can't tell the truth. Part 3, The Symbol Cracks. Izuku heard the commotion from the guards outside his door. Their walkie-talkies were buzzing. Turn on the feed. The big guy is speaking. Izuku scrambled to his feet and turned on his TV. There he was. Toshinori Yagi walked up to the podium. He wasn't in his muscle form. He couldn't maintain it for more than a few seconds anymore. He was the skeleton. The frail, gaunt man in the oversized yellow suit. He looked small. The rain plastered his blonde hair to his skull. He coughed into his hand before gripping the microphone. Izuku pressed his hand against the screen. All Might. Citizens of Japan, All Might began, his voice rasping. I stand before you today to address the disturbing rumors surrounding my student, Izuku Midoriya. A reporter from Hero News Network shouted from the front row. Is he your student, or your creation? Answer the question, Yagi. All Might flinched. He is my student. He is a young man with a heart of gold. He has risked his life time and time again. We've seen the files. Another reporter screamed. This one was from a tabloid, but their voice carried. The medical records. Quirkless diagnosis at age 4, quirk manifestation at age 15, coinciding with your employment at UA. Did you arrange for a quirk transfer surgery? All Might froze. Izuku's heart stopped. It was the trap. Skeptic had designed it perfectly. If All Might said no, he was lying. One for All was a transfer. If he denied the transfer, he would have to explain how a quirkless boy suddenly got a quirk. If he said it was a late bloomer, the science didn't hold up, and the fake files looked more credible. If All Might said yes, he validated the Nomen narrative. He admitted to giving a child a power that broke his body. All Might opened his mouth. He closed it. He looked into the cameras, his blue eyes wide and haunted. I passed on my hope to him, All Might stammered. It was not a surgery. It was a legacy that breaks his bones. The reporter pressed relentlessly. A legacy that destroys bridges? Did you tell him it would hurt him? Did you know? All Might looked down. He looked ashamed. I knew. It would be difficult, All Might whispered. But I believed he could handle it. The crowd of reporters erupted. Child endangerment. He admits he knew. It's a weapon program. The camera zoomed in on All Might's face. He looked defeated. He looked like an old man who had made a terrible mistake. He looked like he regretted it. That was what broke Izuku. It wasn't the reporters screaming. It wasn't the fake files. It was the look in Toshinori Yagi's eyes. A look of profound guilt. He regrets giving it to me. Izuku stepped back from the TV. He thinks he ruined my life. And because he thinks that, the world thinks he's a monster for creating me. Izuku looked down at his hands. I am destroying him, Izuku whispered. I am destroying the symbol of peace. As long as Izuku Midoriya was at UA, All Might would have to defend him. And every time All Might defended him, the public would chip away at the old hero's legacy. They would call him a mad scientist, a child abuser, and Class 1A? They would be forced to choose sides. They would be dragged into the mud with him. Izuku looked at the window. The rain was hammering against the glass. A hero saves everyone, he said to the empty room. Sometimes that means saving them from yourself. Part 4, The Liability. Night fell. The rain turned into a storm. Thunder rattled the window panes of the faculty wing. The broadcast had ended hours ago, but the fallout was nuclear. The internet was calling for All Might's arrest. They were calling for UA to be shut down. Izuku hadn't moved from the center of the room. He was packing. He didn't have much. Just his costume, which the guards had inspected and returned. His red shoes. A few notebooks. He moved mechanically, his mind cold and sharp. The anxiety was gone. In its place was a terrifying clarity. He picked up a pen and a piece of paper. He needed to write 3 letters. To All Might. I'm sorry I couldn't be the symbol you wanted. Please don't blame yourself. You didn't ruin me. You saved me. But now, I have to save you. If I'm gone, they can't ask you about me anymore. Tell them I ran away. Tell them I went rogue. Let them hate me, so they can love you again. To Mom, I love you. I'm sorry I'm always making you cry. Please go stay with the Bakugos. Don't look for me. I need to figure out who I am without the school. I promise I'll come back when I can smile for real. To Class 1A, you guys are the best heroes I know. Don't let the world change that. Kaken, look after them. Todoroki, don't let the flame go out. Uraraka, thank you. I'm sorry I'm leaving, but as long as I'm here, you're all targets. The villains are coming for me. I'm going to take the fight away from Yue. He folded the letters and placed them on the pillow of the bed. He put on his costume. It was tattered, the green fabric stained from the bridge incident. He pulled on the iron saws. They clicked softly on the linoleum. He walked to the window. The shutters were reinforced, but they were electronic. Izuku placed his hand on the locking mechanism. One for all, he whispered. Full cowl. Green lightning flickered around his body. It wasn't the bright, happy energy of before. It was jagged. Angry. He didn't smash the lock. He focused the energy into his fingertips, vibrating them at a high frequency, pushing a surge of bioelectricity into the keypad. It was a trick Kaminari had shown him once, for shorting out circuits. Zap! A spark flew. The lock clicked. The shutters groaned and slid open a few inches. The wind howled into the room, bringing the rain with it. It soaked his face instantly. Izuku pushed the shutters open fully. He climbed onto the ledge. He was 3 stories up. Below him, the campus was dark, save for the sweep of security spotlights. He looked back at the room. At the warm bed he was leaving. At the letters on the pillow. He thought about Uraraka's smile. He thought about Ida's hand chops. He thought about Bakugo's rough encouragement. Goodbye, he whispered. He leaped. He landed silently in the bushes below, the shock absorbers in his legs taking the impact. He stayed low, moving like a shadow. He knew the patrol routes. He knew the blind spots in the cameras. He had analyzed them in his notebooks for fun during his first year. Now, he was using that knowledge to escape the place he called home. He reached the outer wall. The massive barrier that was designed to keep villains out. He activated full cowl, 8%. He scaled the wall in 3 bounds, grabbing the top edge. He pulled himself up and looked out at the city. Musidifo was glowing in the distance. A city that hated him. A city he had sworn to protect. Going somewhere, problem child? Izuku froze. Standing on the top of the wall, wrapped in his capture scarf, was Shota Aizawa. Eraserhead didn't look surprised. He looked tired. His hair was plastered to his face by the rain. His eyes glowed red, his quirk already active, erasing one for all. Izuku felt the strength leave his limbs. He slipped slightly, gripping the concrete with his natural strength. Sensei, Izuku said, his voice pleading. Please, you think running away solves this? Aizawa asked, his voice cutting through the wind. You think making yourself a vigilante helps your case? It helps you, eh? Izuku shouted back, tears mixing with the rain on his face. Look at the news, Sensei. They want blood. If I stay, they'll tear the school apart. They'll tear All Might apart. Aizawa stared at him. He saw the desperation. He saw the logic, as twisted as it was. You're a child, Midoriya. You shouldn't have to carry this. I'm not a child anymore, Izuku said. I'm the holder of one for all. Shigaraki is coming for me. The MLA is coming for me. If I'm here, the war happens here. If I leave, I take the war with me. Aizawa tightened his grip on his capture weapon. He could stop him. He could wrap him up, drag him back to the cell, and force him to stay. But Aizawa remembered the look on All Might's face during the broadcast. He remembered the brake hitting the van. He remembered the fear in the eyes of his other students. Midoriya was right. As long as he was at UA, the school was a hostage. Aizawa blinked. His eyes went from red to black. He deactivated his quirk. Izuku felt the power return. The green lightning hummed under his skin. He looked at his teacher in shock. Sensei? Aizawa looked away, toward the city lights. I didn't see you. What? I was patrolling the south perimeter, Aizawa said loudly, talking to the air. I didn't see a student escaping over the east wall. The rain was too heavy. Visibility was 0. Izuku's lip trembled. He understood. Thank you, Izuku choked out. Midoriya, Aizawa said, not looking back. Don't die. I won't. And put your hood up. You'll catch a cold. Izuku pulled the tattered cowl over his head. The ears flopped sadly in the wind. He turned toward the city. Toward the darkness. He jumped. He fell into the night, leaving the safety of the glass walls behind. He hit the ground running, his feet splashing in the puddles, moving faster and faster, away from Yue. Away from All Might, into the rain. Part 1, The Calculus of Optics. The air in the boardroom of the Hero Public Safety Commission HPSC was scrubbed so clean it felt devoid of oxygen. It was a space designed to intimidate. Polished mahogany tables that stretched like runways, walls of soundproofed glass overlooking the rain-slicked Tokyo skyline, and a temperature kept precisely at a chilling 19 degrees Celsius. Principal Nisa sat on one side of the table. He was small, his paws resting politely on a stack of documents, but his presence was anything but diminutive. His black, beady eyes were fixed on the woman sitting opposite him. The commission president did not blink. She was a statue of bureaucratic efficiency, her suit impeccable, her expression carved from marble. "The decision has been made, Principal," she said, sliding a single sheet of paper across the mahogany. "This is a courtesy meeting. Nothing more." Nisa didn't look at the paper. He knew what it said. "You are suspending a student based on a deepfake video and a fabricated medical file released by a terrorist organization. This is a capitulation to the Meta Liberation Army. You are handing them a victory. We are managing a crisis," the president corrected, her voice smooth and devoid of warmth. "Public trust in heroes is at an all-time low, Nisa. The Endeavor scandal was bad enough. But this? A manufactured hero? A boy who explodes buildings and endangers children? It was an accident during a villain attack," Nisa countered, his tail twitching, a sign of his rising agitation. "Midoriya was engaging Shigaraki Tamura. He saved lives. He caused property damage in excess of 400 million yen, the president noted, tapping a tablet. And the footage, Nisa. The optics. The public sees a boy with black tendrils tearing apart a bridge. They see a mother screaming in terror. They don't see a hero. They see a weapon." She leaned forward, interlacing her fingers. "The narrative has shifted. The Project Deku conspiracy is trending in every demographic. If we let him keep his provisional license, the public will believe the Commission, and by extension, the government, is complicit in illegal human experimentation. We cannot afford that liability." Nisa's scar twitched. "Liability? Is that what a child is to you? A line item on a risk assessment? He is a student at a government-sanctioned hero school. He is a representative of the state. And right now, he is radioactive." The president pointed at the paper. "Effective immediately, Izuku Midoriya's provisional hero license is revoked indefinitely. He is to remain confined to the UA campus under strict surveillance. He is forbidden from engaging in hero work, internships, or public appearances. And if I refuse?" Nisa asked softly. The president smiled, a cold, thin expression. "Then we revoke UA's accreditation. We cut your funding. And we launch a federal investigation into All Might's teaching practices. Do you want to see Tashinori Yagi in handcuffs, Principal? Because if you push us, we will throw him to the wolves to save the herd." Nisa stared at her. His high-specs quirk ran 1,000 simulations in a second. In every scenario where he fought this order publicly, the Commission destroyed All Might to protect their own image. The logic was absolute. It was cruel, but it was absolute. Nisa reached out and took the paper. "You are making a mistake," Nisa said, his voice low. "You are isolating a young man who carries the weight of the world. You are treating a savior like a sinner. History will not look kindly on this decision. History is written by the victors, Principal," the president replied, turning back to her tablet. "And to win, we need the public on our side. Get the boy out of sight. Keep him quiet. Or we will." Nisa slid off his chair. He didn't bow. He simply turned and walked out of the room, the heavy door clicking shut behind him. In the hallway, the sound of the rain against the glass was deafening. Nisa clutched the suspension order in his paw, crumpling the edge. "I am sorry, Midoriya," he whispered to the empty corridor. "I am smart enough to solve physics, but I cannot solve politics." Part 2, The Verdict Delivered. The isolation room was quiet, save for the hum of the ventilation system. Izuku sat at the small desk, a notebook open in front of him. He wasn't writing analysis anymore. He was drawing. He was drawing the bridge. He sketched the support beams, the glass walkway, the angle of the fall. He calculated the velocity. He calculated the force required to catch it. Calculation, black whip output at 15%. Result, success. Actual event, black whip output estimated at 80% uncontrolled. Result, catastrophic failure. He drew a big red X over the page. He turned the page and started again. The door buzzed. Izuku looked up. He expected a guard with dinner. Instead, the door opened to reveal Aizawa and All Might. They looked like they were walking to a funeral. Aizawa looked exhausted, his eyes bloodshot, his capture scarf hanging loosely around his neck. All Might was in his civilian form, leaning heavily on a cane he rarely used. He looked smaller than Izuku had ever seen him. Sensei? Izuku stood up, instinctively straightening his posture. All Might? They entered the room. The door closed, sealing them in. Sit down, Midoriya, Aizawa said gently. Izuku sat. His heart began to hammer against his ribs. The buzzing of one for all in his chest grew louder, a static itch of anxiety. All Might couldn't look him in the eye. He stared at the floor, his skeletal hands gripping the head of his cane until his knuckles were white. The commission held a hearing today, Aizawa began. He kept his voice steady, clinical. It was the only way he could get through it. Principal Nizu argued on your behalf. He presented evidence of the villain attack. He vouched for your character. But? Izuku asked. Aizawa sighed, running a hand through his hair. But the public pressure is too high. The HPSC has issued an executive order. Aizawa placed a document on the desk, right on top of Izuku's notebook. Notice of license suspension. Subject, Izuku Midoriya. Status, indefinite. Izuku stared at the words. They didn't make sense at first. The letters swam before his eyes. Suspended? Izuku whispered. But for how long? Indefinite, Aizawa said. Until the investigation is concluded. And frankly, Midoriya, they aren't looking to conclude it quickly. They want the heat to die down. It could be months. It could be years, Izuku finished. We won't let it be years. All Might burst out, his voice cracking. He stepped forward, grabbing Izuku's shoulder. I won't let them do this to you, my boy. I'm calling my lawyers. I'm calling everyone I know. We'll fight this. Izuku looked up at his mentor. He saw the desperation in All Might's eyes. He saw the fear. All Might, Izuku said softly. The news said they're investigating you too. All Might froze. That doesn't matter. I don't care about my reputation. I do, Izuku said. If you fight them, they'll say you're protecting your experiment. They'll say the conspiracy is true. They'll take your teaching license. All Might opened his mouth to argue, but no words came out. Because it was true, Midoriya, Aizawa cut in. Focus on the immediate. You are to remain in this room for the next 48 hours while we arrange a secure transfer back to the dorms. But even at the dorms, you will be under house arrest. No leaving campus. No training in the gyms without supervision. No contact with the press. I'm a prisoner, Izuku said. It wasn't a question. You are a student under protection, Aizawa corrected, though the words sounded hollow. We are doing this to keep you safe from the mob outside. The mob outside, Izuku repeated. He looked at the window, the shutters still closed. They aren't villains, Sensei. They're the people I'm supposed to save. People are stupid, Aizawa snapped. They panic. They lash out. Give them time. They'll forget. Will they? Izuku asked. He touched the scar on his right arm. Or will they just remember the fear? Aizawa didn't answer. He looked at his watch. I have to brief the rest of the class. They won't take this well. I need to manage them. Aizawa turned to the door. He paused, his hand on the keypad. He looked back at Izuku. You didn't do anything wrong, Midoriya. Never forget that. The system is flawed, not you. Aizawa left. Now it was just Izuku and All Might. The silence stretched, heavy and suffocating. I failed you, All Might whispered. Tears began to stream down his hollow cheeks. I picked you up from the mud, and I promised to guide you. And now look at where we are. I've put you in a cage. No, Izuku said, standing up. He walked over to All Might and hugged him. All Might felt fragile, like a collection of dry sticks held together by a suit. You gave me a dream. You gave me everything. I gave you a curse, All Might sobbed, clutching Izuku's back. Nana, she would never have wanted this. We fight to save people, Izuku. But who saves us when the people turn against us? Izuku held him tight. He felt the tremor in All Might's body. He's broken, Izuku realized. The symbol of peace is broken. And I broke him. Every moment Izuku stayed at UA, every moment he remained a successor, All Might would be dragged down with him. The world would keep attacking the old man to get to the monster he created. If Izuku wanted to save All Might, truly save him, he had to remove the target. Go rest, All Might, Izuku said, pulling away gently. He forced a smile. It was the hardest thing he had ever done. I'll be okay. I'm just going to do some homework. Think about the future. All Might wiped his eyes. You're a stronger man than I am, young Midoriya. I'll come back tomorrow morning. We'll have breakfast. We'll figure this out. Okay, Izuku lied. Tomorrow, All Might left. The door clicked shut. The lock engaged. Izuku stood in the center of the room. The suspension notice lay on the desk. Indefinite. He wasn't a hero student anymore. He was a liability. Part 3. The fracture in 1A. The common room was a powder keg. Aizawa stood at the front of the room, his expression unyielding. He had just delivered the news. Suspended? Uraraka's voice was high, bordering on a shriek. But that's unfair. That's illegal. It's an administrative decision by the HPSC, Aizawa stated. Our hands are tied, so we just let them lock him up? Kirishima shouted, slamming his fist into his palm, hardening his skin. We just let him sit in there thinking he's a criminal? We don't have a choice, Aizawa said. If we interfere, the commission comes down on the school. You want to help him? Keep your heads down. Train. Show the world that UA is still standing. That's a load of crap and you know it. Bakugo roared. He was standing on the coffee table, looking down at Aizawa. His eyes were wild. You're telling us to abandon him to save our own skins? Bakugo accused. That's not what heroes do. That's what cowards do. Bakugo, get down, Aizawa warned, his hair rising slightly. Make me! Bakugo yelled. Deku is in there because he took the hit for us. He was the one fighting Shigaraki while we were dealing with the small fry. And now that he's inconvenient, you're throwing him away? No one is throwing him away, Ida said, stepping forward. He looked pained, his glasses fogged up. We are following the law, Bakugo. If we break the rules now, we validate the chaos the MLA wants. We must trust the system to correct itself. The system is broken, 4 eyes. Bakugo spat. Don't you get it? Skeptic owns the narrative. The system is doing exactly what the villains want, maybe. A quiet voice cut through the shouting. Everyone turned. It was Kaminari. He was sitting on the floor, looking at his phone. Maybe it's safer this way, Kaminari mumbled. What did you say, dunce face? Bakugo growled, stepping off the table and stalking toward him. Kaminari flinched, but he held up his phone. Look at the trending topics. People are posting our addresses. They're posting our parents' work addresses. They're saying Class 1A is harboring a bioweapon. Kaminari looked up, his eyes wide with fear. My mom called me, crying. She wants me to drop out. She's scared, Bakugo. Everyone is scared. As long as Midoriya is here, the hate is directed at us too. So you want him gone? Bakugo hissed, sparks popping near Kaminari's face. I didn't say that. Kaminari shouted defensively. I just want things to go back to normal. I want to be a hero without being called a villain accomplice. Is that wrong? It's selfish, Jiro said quietly. It's human, Momo interjected, placing a hand on Jiro's shoulder. She looked at Bakugo. We are all under immense pressure. Turning on each other won't help Midoriya. You're already turning on him, Bakugo sneered. He looked around the room. He saw the doubt in Ojiro's eyes. The fear in Mineta's. The hesitation in Ciro's. They loved Deku. Bakugo knew that. But they were kids. And they were being crushed by the weight of a nation's hatred. You're all pathetic, Bakugo muttered. He turned and walked toward the stairs. Where are you going? Uraraka asked. To my room, Bakugo said without looking back. I'm not going to sit here and listen to you rationalize betraying him. He stormed up the stairs. But as he reached the landing, he stopped. He looked down the hallway toward the balcony that faced the faculty wing. He couldn't see Deku's room from here. But he could feel him. Don't do anything stupid, nerd, Bakugo thought. Just wait. I'll figure something out. But deep down, Bakugo knew. He knew Deku better than anyone. He knew that look in Deku's eyes when he realized he was a burden. He had seen it when they were kids, every time Deku apologized for existing. Damn it, Bakugo whispered. Part 4, The Internal Monologue. Back in the isolation room, time had lost its meaning. Izuku lay on the bed, staring at the ceiling. Suspended. Indefinite. Liability. The words looped in his head like a broken record. He closed his eyes and tried to enter the inner world of One for All. He needed guidance. He needed to know if he was truly broken. Focus. The world shifted. The mist cleared. He stood in the vestige realm. The ground was dark water. The sky was a swirling aurora of colors. The chairs were there. The vestiges sat in a semicircle. Fifth, Izuku called out, walking toward the bald man in the leather jacket, Daigoro Banjo, the user of Black Whip. Banjo-san. Banjo looked up. He looked sad. Kid, Banjo said, his voice echoing. Why did it happen? Izuku asked, falling to his knees. Why did it go out of control? I trained. I practiced every day. I had it under control. Emotions, Kid, Banjo said, standing up. One for All isn't just power. It's will. It's heart. When you saw Shigaraki, when you saw the danger, your fear spiked. Your anger spiked. And Black Whip responded to the anger, not the strategy. So it's my fault, Izuku said. My emotions are dangerous. You're human, Nana Shimura said gently. The beautiful woman with the cape floated down to him. She placed a hand on his head. You are carrying a burden that crushed 8 people before you, and you are doing it while the world watches. They hate me, Nana, Izuku whispered. They think I'm a monster. Does it matter what they think? The first user asked. His voice was frail, thin. We gave you this power to save the world. Not to be loved by it. But if they don't trust me, I can't save them. Izuku shouted, standing up. The water rippled violently around him. If they run from me, they run into danger. If they attack UA because of me, I'm hurting the people I love. The vestiges were silent. Tell me, Izuku begged. Tell me what to do. Should I stay? Should I sit in that cage and wait for them to forgive me? If you stay, the fourth user, Heike Shinomori, said quietly, you will be contained. The HPSC will shackle you. You will be a weapon in a glass case, brought out only when they decide it is necessary. You will not grow. And Shigaraki will grow. Shigaraki is free, Izuku realized. He is out there, getting stronger. And I am in here, filling out paperwork. The symbol of peace stood in the light, Nana said. But perhaps, the world is too dark for that now. The vision faded. Izuku gasped, sitting up in bed. He was back in the white room. He was sweating. His heart was racing. You will be a weapon in a glass case. He looked at the TV. It was off, but the red standby light stared at him like an unblinking eye. He thought of Class 1A. He thought of Kaminari's mom crying. He thought of the bricks thrown at the van. He thought of All Might, broken and weeping, terrified of his own legacy. I am the liability, Izuku said aloud. The realization was cold, hard, and undeniable. As long as Deku exists at UA, UA is weak. As long as Deku is near All Might is vulnerable. As long as Deku is a public hero, the public doesn't trust heroes. Therefore, Deku must cease to exist. At least, the Deku they knew. Izuku stood up. He moved with a sudden calm purpose. The panic was gone. The anxiety was gone. When you have lost everything, you have nothing left to fear. He walked to the desk. He picked up his pen. He tore a page from his notebook. He began to write. Part 5, The Farewell. The scratching of the pen was the only sound in the room. Dear Mom, I know you're scared. I know you're crying. I'm so sorry I'm the reason for your tears. Again. You always wanted me to be safe. You didn't want me to have a quirk because you knew it would hurt me. You were right, but I can't stop. I can't stop saving people. It's not just a quirk, Mom. It's who I am, but I can't do it here. If I stay, they'll hurt you to get to me. They'll hurt Kaken. They'll hurt everyone. I'm going away for a while. I'm going to finish this. I'm going to stop Shigaraki. And when the world is safe, maybe then I can come home and just be your son again. Please don't look for me. I love you. He folded the paper. His hand was trembling, just a little. A single tear fell onto the paper, smudging the ink on the word Mom. He took a breath and started the next one. All Might, you didn't create a monster. You created a hero. Never let them tell you otherwise, but a hero sacrifices. You taught me that. You sacrificed your lungs, your stomach, your time, your life. You gave everything. Now it's my turn. The HPSC wants to control one for all. The villains want to steal it. The public wants to destroy it. I'm taking it out of the equation. I'm taking the target off your back. Don't defend me anymore. Let them hate me. It's easier that way. Thank you for the dream. He folded it. Finally, one for the class. To Class A, sorry for leaving without saying goodbye. If I told you, you'd try to stop me? You're stubborn like that. The media is going to say a lot of things. Don't listen to them. But don't fight them either. Just be the heroes I know you are. Todoroki, keep the others calm. Ida, keep them safe. Uraraka, keep smiling. Kaken, win. Win for both of us. I'll be watching. I'll be out there. He placed the pen down. He looked at the pile of letters. They looked so small. 3 pieces of paper to say goodbye to his entire life. He walked over to his bag. He packed the letters. He packed his costume. He packed the red shoes. He took off his UE uniform. The gray blazer. The green tie. He folded them neatly and placed them on the bed. He put on his costume. The fabric felt different now. It didn't feel like a costume. It felt like armor. He pulled the hood up. He adjusted the gauntlets. He walked to the window. He placed his hand on the electronic lock. He felt the hum of the circuitry. Full cowl. The green lightning didn't crackle this time. It flowed. It was silent. It was dark. He surged the power. The lock clicked. He opened the shutters. The wind and rain hit him instantly, soaking the mask. He looked back at the room one last time. The empty desk. The folded uniform. The life of Izuku Midoriya, student. No more liability, he whispered. He climbed onto the sill. Far below, beyond the walls, the city lights flickered through the storm. Somewhere out there, Shigaraki was waiting. Somewhere out there, the MLA was laughing. Izuku narrowed his eyes. The green glow intensified, cutting through the darkness. He didn't look back. He jumped.